Hi guys, I have a quick word for you guys, and I want to just say last night God mentioned something to me, and it's very important that a lot of you guys hear this, okay? Many of you guys, what you're going through, it's happening for a reason. It's not just, you're not just going through all this in vain. What you're going through is happening for a reason, okay? I'm going to read a scripture to you, okay? This is Matthew 5 verse 12. Rejoice, be glad, because because great is your reward in heaven. For the same way they persecute the prophets who were before you. Okay, so you have to understand that the things that you guys are battling, I understand it's not lightweight. I understand there's hidden things that people cannot explain, witchcraft, sorcery, all that being done to many of you guys, and you can't just go into a police station or a doctor's office and explain this stuff to people without them thinking you're crazy. So it's almost like you have to fight in silence. It's almost like you're being blackmailed from the witches and warlocks. If you talk about it, they attack you more, and then if you don't talk about it, you suffer in silence. So it's almost like, God, what do I do? I want you guys to understand something. Just like the scripture says that the prophets before you were persecuted, remember something. If you think for 1 second that all this is new, that you guys are the only ones going through this, think again. Because back in the day, the prophets and the anointed also went through this. You see what I'm saying? They were also attacked in the spirit. You see what I'm saying? Yes, there's not many references that talk about this, but it definitely happened to a lot of people. You're telling me that no witches and no warlocks and nobody really attacked Jesus in the spirit? You're telling me that no one attacked? If God said if they do it to me, they're going to do it to you. It says here that the prophets before you were persecuted. So understand, no, this is not God dismissing your pain, and this is not God dismissing what you're going through and saying deal with it. No, what he is saying is it's happened to many people before you, and it's happening to you now, right? And understand that the prophets that were before you, look at David, look at Daniel, look at Esther, they all had a story. They all had a story in the Bible. And not only that, the story talks about their obstacles and challenges, but it also talks about them overcoming it. It also talks about their breakthroughs, okay? So understand that God says what you're going through right now is happening for a reason. Not because you did anything wrong to deserve it. No, it's because your calling is a threat to the enemy. Your calling is a threat to his devices. And just like God has blessed you with leadership and God has blessed you with the high calling, there's people in the kingdom of darkness who are fighting for leadership, who are fighting for a high ranking. And in order for them to get to that level, they have to try to take you out. They have to try to block you. But I want to tell you something what God said to me. Everything that is happening for a reason. And he brought me back to Esther. Remember how I told you guys a couple days ago that although Esther went to the king's palace or wherever the king was, and there was multiple women that he had to choose from, he chose Esther. She probably thought at that moment that her purpose was just to be the queen. Her purpose was just to marry the king. She also had to hide her identity as a Jew, right? Little did Esther know that her purpose was bigger than just being a queen, bigger than just marrying the king. Her purpose was actually she was going to be used to change generations to come, to change the cycle, to shift things. You see what I'm saying? To shift things and to make certain changes that were going to last a lifetime for her people, for the Jews, right? And that was her biggest calling. So there was a purpose within a purpose. She married the king thinking that was her purpose. She thought queen was her purpose, not realizing that there was a purpose within that purpose. You see what I'm saying? But here's where things get really, really beautiful. Okay, God literally mentioned this to me this morning, and it made me see things from a different perspective. Haman had a huge role to play in Esther's purpose, because had Haman not plotted against Esther and Mordecai, had Haman not wanted to get Mordecai impaled on the pole and didn't go out his way to try to arrange things to happen, right? Esther would not have been pushed into the position to reveal herself as a Jew and to also tell her people to fast. And not only that, she would not have been pushed in a position to make that request in front of the king for there to be changes. You see what I'm saying? So because Haman decided to plot against Esther and Haman decided to choose his fate by being wicked, instead of doing the right thing, he actually helped Esther out in that situation. He ended up becoming Esther's footstool in that particular situation. You see what I'm saying? So what God told me to tell you guys is many of you guys are in a similar situation. You think that, your enemies are getting away with things. You think, God, why is this always happening to me? What you don't understand is your enemies are actually helping you. They're helping you build for your future, and they don't even realize they're helping you. God gives us free will, and with the free will that God gives us, we can decide our fate, as in like if we're gonna be good or we're gonna be evil. God decides our calling and our purpose, but it's according to his will. But it's up to us. We get to decide whether we're gonna follow things according to his will or whether we're gonna do our own thing, and that's where free will comes in, right? The devil cannot tempt who isn't willing to be tempted. You see what I'm saying? So your enemies, what they don't understand is that they're actually helping you get to your purpose. The more they try to plot against you, the more they come up against you, the more they try to hurt you, what they don't understand is God is actually using them in your story. Just like Haman was used to push Esther to where she needed to be, your enemies are also being used to push you where you needed to be. Okay? Another example of that is Joseph. Joseph's brothers thought that if they tried to kill him and try to get rid of him, it would stop the purpose, because Joseph ended up telling them his dreams, which let them know that he was going to be in a high authority position. So they thought if they killed him or got rid of him, it was going to sabotage the plans that God had for him, right? They decided to end up selling Joseph. What they didn't understand was everything that they did against Joseph, it's actually what helped Joseph get to his destination. Daniel had enemies as well. Okay, Daniel had enemies as well. The king ended up receiving a revelation about Daniel once he realized, actually before he went into the den, but once he was in the den and saw that he was still alive, he knew the Lord was with him. He knew that his revelations were being confirmed in that moment about Daniel. So although those men thought they were going to plot against him and kill him, they actually ended up helping him. So God said everything that's happening right now is according to his plan, according to his will. Okay, and I know many of you guys, because like I told you before, once you have a high calling like this, right, you are going to have enemies coming from all different angles, all different directions. But many of you guys, your enemy is a part of the plan, or enemies is a part of the plan. And all that means, when you see more and more people ganging up against you and coming up against you, all that means is you're going to have a lot more footstools to pick from. Okay, choose your footstool. Love you guys. Bye.